maybe you think that you're failing yourself and that self-sabotage is something you should be fighting. But today, I'm going to clear out some misunderstanding because self-sabotage is your friend and it's the best guidance you can ever get. And in 3 steps and 3 main chapters today that are going to be very brief, I'm going to tell you why you should be actually loving it. Let's dive in. So I know that this might sound very counterintuitive. Self-sabotage cannot be my friend because it doesn't bring me anything great into my life. But it actually does. It brings you the comfort. It brings you back. When you are resistant to something, it brings you back to your comfort zone and it makes you think a little bit more. If you really want success, if you really want something and someone better. So self-sabotage doesn't come just out of nowhere. It's never a random behavior. It's always deeply rooted in your it's in your childhood or either it's in your later experiences in work or in school, anywhere. This behavior happens when your true self, when part of you that is authentic, knows deep down, it's either your gut, usually, it's your whole body that reacts to a certain activity that you need to do, but you procrastinate. There is a sign that we should be really, the last thing we should do is being angry. What we should do is, with no force, we should be simply curious. Why do I keep running from this homework? Why do I keep running from this relationship? Why do I keep running from being seen, from being in this project and being involved a little bit more intensively? Why? Why do I keep running out of that? First things first, maybe I'm scared. But what I'm here to tell you in this chapter, that it might be actually time for you to ask, how did I get there? Just stop and realize, how did I get into this job that's already 2 years in my life? How how did I even get there? Did I want it, or did anything just dropped into my palms and I just took it? Because when you're out of alignment, when you don't know what you're really going for, distractions usually seem like a good opportunities. So you take it. And then a few years later, you're exactly in this situation. You just stop and can't really grasp, where did this really come from? The fact that you took this train to a random destination. So this is the sign when procrastinating, when being resistant with a partner, when being fearful of some situations. There is such a magical moment that you can take advantage of. It's the moment where you can be curious. Why did I mess up? Why my body? Why, even though I was preparing for this presentation so much, I messed up? I was prepared. There is no discussion about if you do something regularly and if you do something with the diligence, you will be prepared. Your brain has its sort, but somehow it just comes away when you need to do the important thing. And so self-sabotage looks like this. Self-sabotage looks like eating, overeating, eating too much sugar, over drinking, having sexual relationships that are non commitment, checking up on your exes. All of these things are self sabotage. And if we don't know what to do, the first thing is always be curious. You cannot be angry and curious at the same time. Maybe in some comedies where there is just so much paradox, but you really need to be very honestly curious. You you don't really invite any other negative emotion than just trying to find out. Think about it. When you procrastinate on a project, when you self destruct in a relationship, when you resist opportunities that could move your life forward, your immediate reaction is usually shame. We don't like when we are procrastinating and when others know that we are procrastinators. But there is some deeper truth in this. There's a reason why you're doing this. There's a reason you're avoiding, hesitating, or pulling away. Maybe you're chasing a goal that really doesn't actually align with what you truly want. Maybe it is a goal of a created identity that other forces around you made. They created you for their own happiness, for the fact that you will be behaving accordingly to them, to their perception, how they want you to feel, how they want you to behave. Maybe they don't know how to love the version that is you. Maybe you never were real you, so you cannot really know. But I'm telling you that today is the starting point of trying to find out what is the real version of you that will be not liked, but will be loved by those who truly care about you. And you have to understand that self sabotage is always like this little child trying to get your attention, but it's a child who sees fire, not that just wants attention just because it's a child. It knows that something isn't working. And so it's like a sign. It's really screaming to get your attention because there is something out of alignment. And the more you resist and the more you ignore it, the child will get only louder until it's unbearable. And the when it's unbearable, you can experience something like burnout because you can't go on like this anymore. It's not the real life that you wanted and that you were made for. The second part of this tiny reminder is that self sabotage tries to reveal your fears that are much deeper than on the surface level. We usually see self sabotage as lack of willpower or lack of just general discipline. But self sabotage is usually a self protection. It is something that is protecting us from being uncomfortable. As I already mentioned, it is a mechanism, it is a coping mechanism. I'm not saying that it's healthy, usually isn't, but it is a way of avoiding the risks, and it's a way of knowing that we won't be in danger because it is from a history. We as humans, our bodies are always and will always be wired into surviving, not thriving. And people that experienced already success or they thrive generally, they know how it feels, this feeling of being or facing the resistance and trying to get past that, because they did eventually. That's why they succeeded. If we will stay always in our comfort zone, we might be comfortable, of course, and it might feel like we've gained this comfort. But in the long term, it will never make us happier. It will only make us more miserable, and it will make us stagnate. And we're not wired, we're part of the nature, and we're not used to being on one place for more than one period of time. Depends on what we're talking about. But that's why when you're in a job where you're there already like 5 years and you feel like something is missing, and you just, you know, that feeling on a Sunday evening when you think about your work and you're not that excited as you were when you started, when it was your first year, for example. This is the moment when you should be curious why there is not there the excitement. And you should love yourself enough to be brave enough to change it in any way you can. Growth is terrifying. Success is very unfamiliar to the brain. And it's the brain that always choose comfort over the change, even if that comfort is sometimes misery. We choose what we know. And the moment you understand this, that's the moment when you can think about yourself as someone who can be led by you, by the person that knows more, that knows even so much that he predicts what and how you will react on certain situations. For example, when I had an eating disorder, which I had for 6 years, I still didn't know why did I do that to myself. And when I started to understand that it is just my coping mechanism of gaining control, it was a shift for me. There was something that my approach to my whole self and my approach to healing myself from this, there was a sense of compassion, love, and understanding. It's, for example, the same as Michael Jackson. He also had a eating disorder because he needed to control things, because otherwise everyone around him was controlling him. His father, his whole team of marketers, his whole team of strategists about his career. He was controlled. He was just a puppet. So the thing that he can control, of course he will find it, and of course he will take advantage of that. That's why eating disorders are usually the result of lack of control, but usually it's just our fear that we are going to be otherwise out of control. And fear, remember, is never true. It's just a projection. It's not your gut instinct. That's something different. Fear is really pure, pure projection, and it's never, ever true. Write that down, please. Well, maybe it means that self sabotage is really just a guide for change. It points you, it helps you literally to point out the moments in your life that you need to transform, that you need to think through a little bit more, that you need to change, that you need to just make better. And here is the reason why I'm saying that curiosity is the key. Because every time you face self sabotage, you can either judge yourself, or you can be curious. You can ask, journal, what is this trying to tell me? And here I'm going to tell you some main points. Your resistance is pointing to exactly where you need to heal. Your avoidance is showing you where you need to be honest with yourself. Your fear is highlighting the exact areas where you need to step forward anyway, even though you are fearful of any projection that you can have in your head, even though it is fear from someone else that was successful enough to tell you that and you stored it in your head. Self sabotage is not proof that you're failing, it's proof that you're ready to grow. And really, when you stop fighting it and when you start working with it, when you imagine that this is your assistant pointing out stuff that aren't going well, it's like, it's really like, imagine you have a business and you call in audit, and the audit will not give you any sanctions. It's a very, very nice, calm audit, and it will just point you towards every part of the business that is not working. And with each of the points, it might hurt somehow. With each of the point, you might be ashamed that all of this isn't working. But it's there not to blame you and not to make you feel worse. It's there to help you. So imagine that self sabotage is like the
If you like
audit
these
for
tiny
you.
reminders,
It's a
I'm
person, it's
first of all
someone,
very happy.
something that is
And
trying to
second of
communicate
all,
with
you
you.
can subscribe,
And
you
all
can
you
like
need
this
to do
video,
is
whatever you
listen,
feel like.
or just go, and maybe we will meet in YouTube world again. So stay awesome and keep being curious. Bye.